for victory. Canada first, baby, let's go. Canada first! Canada first! Canada first! Canada first! Canada first! Canada first! Freedom! Freedom! Canada first, baby, let's go! Fuck Trudeau! Hey, Auntie, hey, what do you think about this?
Give me an H.H.
Honk, honk! It's a great day to come out here and support our truckers. Oh, look at this!
It's the fake news CBC, boys. They're going into hiding.
Fake news, go! Don't worry. We're ready for you guys, too. Yo, this guy's got the gas. Going for you out here. We're holding the line.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the EdgeStream. How's it going? So glad to be back with you all tonight. Every Tuesday night around 9 p.m. EST. Tonight we were on Colored People time, or I set my stream back a bit because I was just watching Derek Rant's stream, in which he was actually covering one of the same topics that I'm going to be covering tonight, which is the CBC Fifth Estate's Hitpiece on the Freedom Trucker Convoy, and some of yours truly in the Plaid Army and Diagolon sphere. So we'll be getting into that. I'm with my special guest, co-host of the night, the expert, just all-around expert in general, Dr. Fact Check. How are you doing tonight, Dr. Fact Check?
Hey, Edgy, we're doing great. Glad to be on the show as always.
Cheers, buddy. I got the Edgy D cup. Cheers to you. Hope you're sipping on some fine White Claws.
Oh, indeed, indeed.
As those fancy people do. But yeah, I'm feeling actually pretty good. As you know, it's March 1st. The restrictions have been lifted for the vaccine passport.
We won!
In Ontario. We won! We won! We are heroic. We prevailed. Don't let them ever tell you otherwise. Because the establishment has poured billions and billions of dollars into this vaccine passport digital ID system. And when I was looking at that after we had failed to stop the vaccine passports from getting implemented, I was like, holy shit, they have a lot of money behind this. They're not backing down. And they kind of left it open-ended, like, oh, maybe we'll like, don't worry, it's only temporary, you know, and they teased that they would let it go. But at the same time, you had like Quebec, the federal health minister, I believe, saying that there could be, what do you call it, taxes or fines for people or for mandatory vaccinations. If you don't get it in general, you could get fined, like they were planning to do in Quebec. And you're gonna tell me that they backtracked that hard just because, oh, it's coming to an end and now the science says so? Bullshit. It was the Freedom Convoy that did it. People actually finally rose up and they realized they were in over their heads, and people aren't buying the shit anymore. So now they gotta switch, they gotta divert, and now they gotta focus the attention on, oh, Russia, Ukraine now. Not to say that that's not a conflict in and of itself, but isn't it convenient?
Yeah, well, we're going to enjoy our 6 months of freedom that we're probably going to get until the fall comes around and they hit us with it again. But, you know, we got to take our wins when we can. And, you know, we waited them out, man. We waited these fuckers
We got to be
out.
happy sometimes, right?
That's right.
And I see political puppet theater. How's it going, man? In the chat saying, yep, they'll try and roll it out again. And yes, they will. This is not over. We won this battle, but the war goes on, right?
Yep.
The digital ID credit score system that includes, did you get your vax? Did you get your mandatory vax? It's all part of a bigger picture. And they will relentlessly come after you with psyop after psyop. And that's just the way it's going to be going from now on. They've really set a precedent of taking away people's freedoms. And now they're trying to gaslight us as they take one step back and get ready to take 2 steps forward again.
That's right. Yeah, they're trying to tell us that it wasn't the trucker convoy. It wasn't the freedom protests that had anything to do with this. Meanwhile, on February 7th, okay, Christine Elliott in Ontario came out and said, we have no plans of dropping the vaccine passport. And it wasn't even 2 weeks later, Doug Ford completely changed his tune. What was that all about? That was about the fucking convoy, because we made a serious national, event out of all of this. And we brought a lot of people into the kind of sphere of understanding what's going on. I had so many people who otherwise never cared about politics, all of a sudden looking at things like the World Economic Forum and looking at this globalist agenda that's, been undertaken in the last 2 years. And people are really starting to wake up for sure. So it was a positive thing to see for sure.
For sure, man. And plus side for me, I was able to go back to the gym that I was at before, Good Life Fitness, and I got a fucking bench press workout in, which I have not had in 6 months, and it felt great. And they were happy to have me back. And when I went in there, I told them I'm medically exempt. They wrote that in the system. Nobody's gonna bother me. So I find that as a personal win. I don't have to worry about getting harassed at my gym because they have it in the system right beside my name.
It's going to be a summer of gains for Edgy D.
It's going to be a summer of gains. Let's fucking go. Let's get that good physical and mental health. Exactly what we need in order to prosper in this ongoing war going ahead.
Yep.
Now, Quick Dub in the chat. What's up, buddy? He's saying that they are passing all kinds of commie bills tonight, right now, as we're speaking. Now, I didn't know that. I know that Bill C-36 is on the loom. I have an article dated from February 4th saying that the libs are going to try to push that through as fast as possible. So that was amongst the whole convoy thing before it had wrapped up, obviously. And I also saw another article saying that the libs were taking it too far and they needed to backtrack back to the drawing board because there was too much crap in Bill C-36. So maybe they're coming back and, 1 step back, 2 steps forward with Bill C-36. But we'll go on to see how they're going to try to implement censorship and right-wing extremism. You see, they failed on the COVID front. They tried too hard to get you to believe a bunch of crap when people's eyes can see for themselves. They know that people aren't dying in the streets and all this crap you're hearing on the news. They're sick of it. It does not match reality. And now the alternative media is starting to catch up even to the normies. And when people see the trucker convoy, if you go into your own city and you see what it's like there, it's not full of hateful swastikas and people like threatening to rape everybody. No, it's fucking a bunch of freedom-loving people who give you hugs and, maybe some of them are a bit eccentric and they fly an InfoWars flag. But hell, even to the normie, like Alex Jones is the funny guy on Joe Rogan and other comedian podcasts. So they're not winning on that front. So now they're trying to divert into like, ooh, big scary diagolon. The diagonal white nationalist country militia acceleration. They're throwing all the words out at the wind and hoping that some shit catches. So that's their new game plan going forward. Anyways, I want to just remind you guys to like, comment, subscribe. No, we're also streaming on Entropy right now, so if you have super chats, you could throw them in there. It won't get skimmed by YouTube. I see Al Stern in the Entropy chat. He's saying, let's fucking go. We see some diagonal lines. Yes, this is now a symbol of hate, apparently. We made it into the big times, baby. You cannot hold your arm up diagonally without being considered a part of a hate group. Look at how far we've come. This is great. What a fucking clown world.
Yeah, we CBC famous now.
Yeah, boy. Honk honk. Yeah, apparently honk honk is now Heil Hitler. Now, obviously, there's a bit of gaslighting the retard leftists, because we go honk honk, and they go, oh, we know what they mean. They go, oh, we know what they mean by that. So we're like kind of trolling them too. But then the meme becomes us trolling them when they're trying to say they actually literally mean that. It's like, no, well, kind of, but we're only doing it to troll you.
Yeah.
And it's like they're not on the same level of irony. We're like an onion of irony where you have to peel back all the layers, and these guys are still on John Oliver, where it's just like, oh, really? That's just like, and it's literally like a Family Guy aside joke where he makes a comparison that has nothing to do with the first thing, and you know that's their level of comedy. We're like Sam High levels of like 10 levels of being ahead of the game on that. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain to these ne'er-do-wells, to these grug brains, to these normies, but it's just the way it be. Anyways, let's get right into the documentary. We got a lot to cover, so we might as well just dive right in.
The documentary by CBC News.
If you see anything worth bringing up in the chat too, let me know, okay? Dr. Fact Check.
You got it. I'm on chat duty.
The following program
may duty, bro. All right. So I have some very specific timestamps. I know our buddy Derek already covered a lot of what happened in the documentary, and I think I have some slightly different insights. Just me being like a film studies guy and having studied the art of documentary making, I feel like Derek nailed down some of their deceptive editing techniques, but there's also some greater like emotional connotations that they're trying to portray in this documentary. And this character in specific is particularly interesting to me, this James Bowder. I met him, I think, last weekend in Ottawa, to be honest. Him and his wife were extremely nice people, and I feel like they had the best of intentions on everything. And I was surprised to see them in this documentary and how they were able to portray them in the way that they wanted to portray them. So I'm just going to prop that up on the screen here.
Him in Ottawa.
So, how anger, faith, and conspiracy theories fueled the trucker convoy. That's the title. And I feel like they're trying to lump them into the faith department. What they're trying to say with these two specific people is that they are the crazy Christians that only care about what they believe in, and God will tell them to do whatever they think, and they will use God as a front. And they're out of their minds, essentially. That is the connotations that they're trying to infer with these guys.
Mission from God.
I've been sitting here going,
they're on a mission from God, right?
God, where do I fit into this?
72 virgins for this guy.
How do I put unity out there? And he said, convoy for freedoms. Okay, I phoned my wife, honey, we're going to go do a convoy and we're going to Ottawa.
Can I ask you a little bit about how that conversation happened?
I got baptized and it really stuck hard, deep in my every fiber of my being.
But how did God tell you to start a convoy?
I'm going to speed it up too. Just because we don't have all day, shit. We're already late on colored people's time, shit.
Through prayer. Through prayer.
Through prayer. See?
Prayer had taken him to Ottawa before. In 2019, he was part of what in retrospect looks an awful lot like a dry run.
Yeah, so yeah, they're trying to connect it to like past convoys and
a dry run. Oh my god.
A dry run. Is that like whatchamacallit? To all the dry counties in the biblical red belt states?
No, it's like the 9/11 hijackers went on airplane
oh,
flights
yeah.
as a dry run.
I get what you're saying.
Oh god, sick connotation.
I see. Well done. That's why they call you the expert. Damn.
We're delivering the
So that was one clip of particular importance, and we'll get back to him later. And this is all coming through on the screen. Yeah. Everything good in the chat? All right. Yeah.
In what he called a legally binding memorandum, he called on the Governor General and the Senate to strike a committee to essentially override Canada's elected governments and end all vaccine initiatives.
Yeah, so that was the main point of all this. Just to be clear, and they're trying to make it something more than it was.
With a manifesto that essentially
a
said
manifesto. You know, like the El Paso and the Christchurch, right? Manifesto. It's another loaded term.
The government of Justin Trudeau dismantled, and we want it replaced with...
No, it did not say that anywhere in there. I got it right here.
Let her finish. It would be replaced with a...
Let her finish. Okay.
Ugh.
This needs to be addressed, and we'll get back to this later.
No, that did not say that anywhere in there. I've got it right here.
Let her finish.
Let her... Okay. You see that?
Ugh. The woman question once again.
No, that did not say that anywhere in there. I've got it right here.
Let her finish.
Cocked! Absolutely cocked during the interview. Wifey, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's painful.
Right? You don't undermine your husband. And even he shouldn't be doing that to her if she was talking, necessarily. Like, that's just a mutual respect thing. But at the same time... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, especially when you're talking to a fucking CBC journalist who's trying to do an investigative report on you. Like, what do you think this is about, dude? They're trying to make you look like shit.
Right. So now they've seen the schism. These people are sharks, and they could smell blood in the water. So they could sense that what they can infer from that is that this guy sometimes maybe he doesn't say the right things, or he doesn't present himself in the most proper way, and she feels like she could do better. So we'll see that as an ongoing theme throughout
It would be replaced with a committee of unelected people.
No.
May I?
No, it would not be replaced.
Okay, the committee would do what then?
Oversee to make sure that the government...
It's also, this guy is kind of not the best explainer, and he is losing his shit. So, which is why having frame and a calm civility about you, frame as in like a concept of knowing you're in the right and knowing how to conduct yourself with that sense of well-being, of righteousness, and not anger. And we'll get into the anger question later with Lee Peterson's speech at AFPAC 3, which I think was the best speech of the night, to be honest. So, this guy is falling victim to the anger question, and they're using him as political fodder in this hit piece.
Follow through with ending the unlawful mandates.
The mandates are not unlawful, and they're not just federal. Most have been legislated by provinces. But Trudeau was their target. And a month later, the Prime Minister unwittingly handed them a gift.
Don't worry, guys. The mandates were not unlawful. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, forcing you to get a vaccine or lose your job, that's not unlawful. Because we passed a law that said it was legal.
Yeah, the law says you have to do it. So it is law. I mean, they're not wrong, but...
The mandate for cross-border truckers was coming, whether truckers liked it or not.
Oh, this is hilarious.
A vaccine mandate for cross-border truckers was coming, whether truckers liked it or not.
We have been clear for many months, since back in November, that the exemption for truckers to not be vaccinated would be ending in January.
Somebody's got to take the butt plug at this guy. Jeez. Anyways, I love how tone-deaf Justin is, as usual. Like, they didn't listen to me, What's their problem,
We all know the best way to get out of this pandemic is to get vaccinated.
He really is a one-of-a-kind guy that you could fucking, like, in his shittiness, that you could parody and stuff. Greg Wycliffe hasn't nailed to a T.
Oh, yeah, he does a great job.
Greg Wycliffe on YouTube, Wycliffe. You guys probably all know him, but he is the best Trudeau impressions. Anyways, this is them introducing all the characters in the convoy.
I really again started paying attention even more when I saw some of the other actors that were involved.
So that's Kurt Phillips. He's an actor. He's the anti-hate guy who's literally every day during this convoy, he does a thread that's over 100 posts long. And literally, after a while, he was just stalking Jeremy, Pat King, and a few other people, Tyler Russell, and a few other people's social media. And then, even if the person didn't do anything remarkable, he would take what they said and try to insinuate it in the worst possible way. Like, here is Tyler Russell further instigating occupation and siege against the it's like, oh my god, you have nothing better to do. And like
I love this editing too, when they have like Tamara Leach's photo and then like her name comes out in like military style, like, you know, scanning from the left across, you know, like Tamara Leach, as if she's like some sort of dubious, evil, nasty character. It's like she's just some boomer woman who got in way over her head with this thing. Didn't realize how big
so it was. Nice, and I actually feel bad for her. I don't like that she cried on live stream before she got arrested, saying, "I'm gonna get arrested." Not a good look for a leader, but otherwise, I think she's probably a decent woman, and she doesn't even have anything they could get her on here. They're just making her look scary, but they have nothing to say about it.
I'm Tamara. Nice to meet all of you. Your support has been overwhelming and so appreciated. We are really making this happen.
Wow, what an evil woman.
Among the players, Tamara Leach.
We are going here to hopefully speak to some people to get all these mandates lifted.
Also from Alberta, formerly with the separatist Maverick Party. Her job was feeding that GoFundMe account.
Guys, I got great news.
Feed the
GoFundMe is
GoFundMe,
releasing
baby.
some money. We got her done.
She's a grifter.
Then there were the others. Chris Barber. Here he is with Leach.
Oh, an actual trucker.
Built a following on TikTok, where he was prolific, spewing hate.
Adolf Hitler was a smarter motherfucker than anybody wants to give him credit for.
So that's all they have to say. He built a following on TikTok, spewing hate, and then they show one line saying that Adolf Hitler is a smarter motherfucker than people give him credit for. That doesn't even imply anything about what he thinks about Hitler beyond that he was intelligent. I don't think that means that he condones what Hitler did. That is literally one line.
Well, and it's like the Nazis at Nuremberg, all of them had their IQs tested, and most of them were geniuses, like statistically. Like they were so much higher IQ. It doesn't mean that you're saying Nazis are like good. It's they were factually smart. Like, you think a guy like Hitler can rise to power if he's a fucking idiot? Like, what the hell are you talking about?
Well, it's literally just invoking the anti-Semitism card and Holocaust atrocity propaganda. You know that a lot of what has happened throughout this whole Freedom Convoy is literal Holocaust atrocity propaganda, when they realized that a lot of people sympathized with the Freedom Convoy and the truckers and, the infringement upon like 10 to 15% of people's human rights and the greater human rights situation of what is going on with this response to the pandemic. They had no response. They refused to engage in debate. So what they did is they reverted to Holocaust atrocity propaganda, and they brought up the one guy who had a flag at the Chateau Laurier, the swastika flag. But no one knows who that guy is. He was only there in that one spot. He might have been in another spot, and then people ran him out. But he was in that one spot, photographed conveniently, with a very nice camera with a long lens, and then he's nowhere to ever be seen. If he was anywhere near where I was, he would have been thrown out.
Yeah.
It's
and you
obvious
saw that with the
false flag. And Chateau Laurier, that's where the police were staying at. The police, the people who were brought in, the RCMP, who were laughing about trampling over the protesters with their horses and beating people. They were laughing about it. They were staying in the Chateau Laurier. Swastika flag in the Chateau Laurier. And then all that is brought about to bring up Holocaust atrocity propaganda, because that is the biggest myth. And when I say myth, I don't mean that it didn't happen. I mean it has a mythical status in that it precedes any talking point, where as long as you bring it up, you get everybody to short circuit their brain, and they can no longer think properly. They no longer have a proper defense, because you could just invoke that event, and then it has the institutional power to squash any opposition. And that's what that is. That's what's happening there. It's unfortunate, because people did suffer in the Holocaust, and also people did suffer in countless other historical tragedies, but those will be overshadowed if the Holocaust narrative is invoked upon that tragedy on the opposite side. So it's really anti-science, it's anti-logic, and we have to look at things truthfully and honestly if we're going to go forward. But this is the CBC. They're not truthful or honest. This is part of the establishment. So going forward, I don't know if you have anything quick to say about that before I continue.
Yeah, no, I think you covered it pretty well. I mean, it's a misnomer, and it's a way of, bringing kind of a shade to the whole movement and being like, oh, look, there was a Nazi flag, therefore these people are Nazis, and therefore these people hate Jews, and, Holocaust and all that. And ultimately
really
it has
sick.
nothing to do with the Holocaust. And I think a lot of people, just real quick, a lot of people fall into the thing where they like to bring up how this is like the Holocaust. And I think that's just a losing strategy. Like, I don't even like to go there, because to me, let's not even bring up the Holocaust into this, because the minute you bring the Holocaust into it, you open up that can of worms where
it's just a loaded term filled with these political connotations, where at one side, on one end, you gotta respect the sanctity of it, but then it all depends on which Jews or which people, what their opinions on the sanctity of it and what you can apply it to. Because the left will say that literally Trump is Hitler, right? And then the right wing, they'll say COVID restrictions are like Nazi Germany, like someone like Ezra Levant. So why don't we just stop doing all of that? We start using new proper terms that actually accurately describe what's going on and don't always involve Jews in it.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
I don't care about the specific Jewish circumstances. Like, I think it's probably, if I was Jewish myself, I wouldn't want to be invoked and involved in everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Like, leave me alone. Oy vey.
Yeah,
Jeez.
no kidding.
Right. So, going on, this is our boy Jeremy Mackenzie, and see how they talk about him. I'll slow this down to normal speed so we can check this out.
Let's go!
Let's go.
Jeremy Mackenzie, an Afghan vet, has been linked to a number of extremist groups in Canada.
Fuck you, Justin. Sit on it, bitch.
He joined the convoy from Nova Scotia, one day after police seized weapons from his home.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready?
And then there's Pat King. His roots go back to that 2019 convoy as well.
Okay, based Pat King. You guys know how I feel about Rage. I love the guy. He's a personal friend, obviously. Yeah, Pat King, I've heard a lot about him. I've heard nasty things he's done in the past. I've heard accusations of, what do you call it? When you stolen valor as a military, but I have not seen any proper evidence for most of this stuff. So I'm like, okay, whatever. He might be a grifter. He might be this or that. But this is just making me like him. This is so funny.
With an audience of more than 300,000 on Facebook, he ridicules people who aren't white.
You might want to change your name to Ishmael, or drop a bunch of change down the stairs and call yourself Chong Ching Ching Chang.
He promotes race.
What the heck? I don't even know what that meant. So was he saying that somebody likes money, so they should change their name to Ishmael, like they're Jewish?
No. He was saying like an Asian person with their name like Ching Chong. That's the sound of money falling down the stairs.
Yeah, but he said Ishmael first.
I don't know what the context of the original thing was. I feel like he was just talking about like immigrants in general there.
Well, he said you should change your name to Ishmael. So I'm thinking, yeah, I don't know. Who fuck knows with Pat King? Like, okay, one thing I've thought is that Plaid Army guys are like the Trailer Park Boys of right-wing politics in Canada. But, however, I think Pat King is the Trailer Park Boys of right-wing politics in Canada. Like, Derek, like, we make fun of Derek because, you know, he says these funny things, like the January 6th thing that we see in a bit in this documentary. Derek is not, we call it Derekism, because, you know, he says something, it's like, oh, great, you you said something hilarious that played right into their... No, I don't know exactly how to explain it, but Derek is
something
actually
that's
pretty
open
smart.
to interpretation, yeah.
Yeah, something that's open to interpretation, but Derek is actually pretty smart, and what he said was supremely funny. But everything Pat says, not everything, but the things that they get him on are extremely retarded. And they are like actual Ricky-isms. So they're like Pat-isms, I guess.
Yeah. No,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
Sorry, Derek. I'm not trying to call you retarded.
Yeah, no, Derek's a very intelligent guy. Derek's a great guy.
Yeah, I feel like Derek is my friend. I could have intelligent, deep conversations with him. With Pat King, I don't know what the fuck he's about, but this documentary is making
related conspiracy theories.
That's what the goal is to depopulate the Anglo-Saxon race because they are the ones with the strongest bloodlines.
And in the weeks leading up to his
arrival, Pat King, the leader of the Anglo-Saxon race, strong as bloodlines. Those are some heavy words right there. I don't even know what that means. I don't know much about lines in my blood, but okay.
Arrival in Ottawa was predicting violence.
Trudeau, someone's gonna make you catch a bullet one day.
The only way that, and I'm gonna say it out loud, the only way that this is gonna be solved is with bullets.
This is a very loose-knit, decentralized assortment of agitators and activists and extremists, and we need to recognize that that can be incredibly dangerous.
Hearing the Trudeau wants our guns.
Okay, yeah. So that's Pat King for you, and they're clipping all the worst things that they've ever... all the things that anti-hate basically is compiled, and they're putting it in a presentation-like format, as if that is the entirety of who he is. So that's obviously their mission order.
Yeah, Pat King is really... He encompasses a lot of what I see in the boomers, where they know something's going on, they know something's wrong, but they don't have the linguistic skills to articulate it, and they don't know the history enough to like make a good argument. So they come out and say something like, "Oh, well, Trudeau's going to catch a bullet." Now, do I think that Pat King means that he's going to shoot Trudeau? Of course not. And I don't think Pat King thinks that either. I think what Pat King was saying was Trudeau is going to push people to a point where he's practically a dictator, and the mob eventually one day is going to show up at his house with pitchforks and somebody's going to take him out. That's what Pat King's saying. Pat King's saying you can't push people and take away their rights and take away their dignity and take away everything from them, like their jobs, and expect them to just roll over. That's his point, but he just doesn't know how to say it because, like you said, he's Ricky. So he just says some stupid ass shit like, "Oh, Trudeau's going to catch a fucking bullet," you know? He probably had 3 Bud Light before he said that.
Oh, yeah. And that's another thing. When you're involving yourself into real conflicts like this, like Pat King is, he said that weeks before this even happened. He probably didn't even know the convoy was happening at this point when he was saying those things about Justin. But now they're trying to act like this was specifically involved with the convoy. Like he was talking about the convoy. Right?
Yeah.
So likewise, when they say that Jeremy got caught with weapons right before he came, that those two things had anything to do with each other. They did.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely nothing to do with each other. So they try to present past statements as if they're all combined into one thing that is entirely relevant to what is going on at that point. And if you did that to other people with like BLM, and the organizers there, or all the main people involved with that, it would paint an entirely different story than what the mainstream media has been showing you about.
Perfect example would be that black guy, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago in the States. He shot, he went in and shot like some police officers or whatever, and he was a big BLM supporter. So what you could do is you could go back and find some tweet where he's like, "Pigs in a blanket," or "Fry like bacon," or whatever. And it's like, see, he was talking about doing violent things to police even back then. And then they like, tie it all together. But in reality, like it was kind of like, these things aren't all in a vacuum. Like these things happen over a long period of different times, and they're not connected. And they just try to make it seem like, okay, everything was about the convoy, when in reality, most of the stuff that they're trying to bring up to throw shade at these people has nothing to do with the convoy. Like Chimera Lich being part of the Western Maverick Party or the secessionists or whatever. It's like that has nothing to do with the fact that she wanted to, stop the vaccine mandates and the vaccine passports. Like she ran for a fucking political party a couple of years ago. Like that has nothing to do with this.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's on Parliament Hill.
Given that we know that amongst the many demonstrators who were coming were people who were coming very explicitly with the goal of changing the government, people explicitly talking about violence, should those kinds of things have triggered a response?
Absolutely, and to the extent that that intelligence was collected and possessed and assessed, it would have been distributed.
We now know.
So now they're talking about intelligence. So she was presenting that as when Pat King arrived, how did the Ottawa police officers not know that he essentially, according to her, should not be there? So that's the conversation that they're having. And they're trying to implement pre-crime, basically. Saying that Pat King shouldn't be allowed there because his past statements over the course of years that they just presented, that he wants like Trudeau to be like rained down in a fucking fire of bullets, and he's going to orchestrate that somehow. That's what they're actually trying to deduce from that, and to deny him entry into Ottawa. That's kind of the subtext of what they were trying to imply there. And if you go over to this part, now we get to see her. Well, first, here's another clip with this guy.
Well, I think
this guy with his fucking sad eyes, man. Not enough adrenochrome, bro. You need to get it with the Soros crowd, and maybe they could pump you up with some more kids' blood to get those bags
he looks
out from.
Fucked.
Yeah. Oh shit.
I think there's a relatively senior RCMP emergency response team guy walking around here making pronunciations. So he's a fairly well-trained, been around the block a couple time guy. So he didn't just come to these views. He must have had these views for some time.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so this is Daniel Bulford, the sniper that came out, who was on Justin Trudeau's security detail. Obviously, he didn't want to keep supporting Trudeau as a sniper, which is funny because Pat King is rambling about someone's going to do you in one day, Justin. And this is the guy who's just like, yeah, probably. And I don't want to be a part of any of this when that happens because Justin Trudeau is in the wrong. But anyways, what they're trying to infer is that there are people within the military, within like internal government positions that have these views, and that these views have proliferated over a long time in their minds. And ultimately, the question is, why haven't we weeded these guys out? Why haven't we made it so that we can read people's minds or like mine into every social media interaction they've ever done, so that we can only have mindless drones in our bureaucratic system? That's what they're implying with this.
Yeah, for sure. And not just the bureaucratic system. They want mindless drones in law enforcement, the men with the guns.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Like, when I mean bureaucratic, I mean just anything from just the different divisions in the system. RCMP, terrorism units, snipers, inset, yeah. People, anybody with guns, police, they don't want any dissent. And one of the big things that they really zero in on in this documentary is that the police were nice to the protesters, and sometimes they gave them hugs, and then like 2 or 3 officers said, you know what, I support you guys, I support what you're doing. And that was their in to say that, hey, The police were being too nice to them. Maybe they should have beat them harder. Maybe they should have cleaned these guys up earlier, right? They don't show any of the violence, the police trampling, the pepper spraying, the beating, gun butt, fucking people in the head, women, beating women with a gun butt. Now, I'm not against beating women if they hit you first, but come on, there's like 6, 7, 8 police officers on top of one woman, and there's a video of a guy smashing the butt of his gun into a woman. Why didn't they show that in CBC's Fifth Estate? Pretty fucked up. Pretty fucked up.
Economy, these blockades.
So this is where they start razzing this guy, James Boder. This is the Canada Unity guy, who they're trying to go on the religious angle to say that, oh, this is the religious nut. He believes he's on a mission from God to just drive his Winnebago wherever, right? So now they start razzing him, and you could really start seeing the woman question come into play here.
Blockades cannot continue.
But the blockades did continue, and in Ottawa, so did the protests. The longer the standoff went on, the greater the worry that all of this might end in violence.
Peaceful non-compliance has always, always, always been the objective here.
Peacefully, with bear hugs, with love, with smiles.
The couple behind the original convoy assured us violence was the last thing they wanted. But there were all those Facebook posts.
You yourself...
Oh,
Mr.
no,
Bauer,
not the Facebook post.
Oh my God, Jinx.
Not the factual Facebook posts about the connections between Pfizer and BlackRock in their... Oh no, we can't look into that.
Dubious Facebook posts.
Like these... I don't even know what to say about this fucking representation of what they're doing.
Talked about and predicted World War III starting on Canadian soil. You have called for the arrest of Justin Trudeau on treason.
Yeah.
For treason.
I'll keep going for that.
That's a violence.
Yeah.
No, it isn't.
A democratically elected prime minister of this country, you are calling treasonous?
All these laws that he is
Oh my
elected to
goodness.
up-
See the woman
God.
touching his hands like,
Ugh.
tame yourself. Tame
Jesus.
yourself.
It's making me fucking mad just watching that, dude. I hate that shit. Like, no matter, like you said earlier, no matter if it was her talking or him talking, you stand by your fucking spouse, man. You don't throw them under the bus like that. You don't like patronize them. Okay, honey, calm down. No, fuck off. Like, this is ridiculous.
Right.
Especially when
And-
this guy's not even getting mad. He's calm. Like, he's not, it's not like he's out of his seat screaming at
No,
her.
but
Like,
now she's making him look madder than he is.
yeah.
And it's probably making him madder that she's doing that because it's, you know how these things work. But anyways, I'm sure she's a good woman. I met her in person, but I think they're misguided in the way they're approaching this, for sure.
Absolutely.
For all of us have been violated. That's treason.
When you start throwing around words like treason and traitor, that creates an environment in which somebody might decide to take action into their own hands. We know that there
Not
are
with
people
Canada Unity Foundation. I have a
associated
very,
with your
very-
organization who say this is not going to end without bullets.
That is not part of our association.
Pat King,
Is not.
I have seen
No.
you and Pat King together in
Yeah.
videos. I have seen
a
documents
picture.
from your organization with your two names side by side as organizers.
So I was going to get on that. There's multiple organizers in this.
Okay, but he is an
he's a
organizer and he
captain.
is associated.
He's a captain.
You know what?
Ladies and gentlemen,
He's a
I had the
captain.
pleasure of meeting these beautiful souls.
Man, fuck you. Pat King can be a captain if he wants to be. Fuck off.
Yeah, no shit. Why are you throwing Pat King under the bus, man?
You know, I didn't want to become a Pat King stan, but here I am. I'm fucking Pat King stan. I bow down to Pat King as the leader of the Anglo-Saxon race. Pat King, I understand what you meant about Trudeau and the bullets. I know that you were just predicting what could possibly happen to him with his tyranny, okay? I know you were saying that in good faith. Pat King, you are my hero, okay? Okay, that's a little bit far. That's a little bit far. Okay.
Dude, Pat King reminds me of so many people I know in real life who are good-hearted, good, spirited people who they just don't know what to say, and like they get to a point where they're pissed off and they're fed up and they say something that's a little bit out there, and then you have some stupid fucking gender studies major woman who will be like, "Oh, you're a racist now. You said the wrong thing. I gotcha."
One of my favorite things I've seen is like coverage of him. He called some Antifa organizer some like fat, like annoying black chick who was saying some terrible things about white people, saying that like this country, like the white people don't have a say in it. Essentially, that was like the crux of her Twitter post, and she got called out for it because it was so blatantly anti-white. But he was calling her Kongzilla because of the way she looked and conducted herself. So they were like, "Oh my god, this is the most racist thing ever." I'm like, yeah. Yo, you just own this bitch. This fucking anti-white racist bitch. Called her Kongzilla. Yeah, if you act like King Kong, like you're gonna tear buildings down, or what was it, Kongzilla? Oh, sorry, a mix between King Kong and Godzilla. You're gonna tear buildings down with entire societies that were built by white men, by the way, down with your rhetoric, then maybe we're gonna call you out for what you are.
Yeah,
Kongzilla.
Well, the whole monkey thing, like that one kills me, because like when I was a kid, like they have the monkey bars because you swing on the monkey bars like a monkey, right? And then like I call my son a little monkey because he runs around like a little monkey all the time. It's like, well, if he was black, like people would be like, whoa, you can't call him that. Are you racist? Like, whoa, what are you saying? Like, and it's like, no, he's running around like a little monkey.
Monkeys are funny. Like,
it's an expression, man. Like, chill the fuck out. People get too deep with all of this stuff. They think that it means so much more than it is, and they ascribe their own intentions to what people like Pat King say, right? Like Pat King is probably not even thinking there. Like he wasn't even thinking about like the fact that she's black.
Pat King is not a sentient being. You gotta understand, Pat King does not have an internal monologue.
Exactly.
He just goes with the flow, and that's why I'm a Pat King respecter, okay? I would not trust him with my life in any sense of the word, and I'm not even loyal to him, but I, like, in the sense that I would trust Pat King with anything personal, but I am a Pat King respecter based on what they've presented about him.
For sure. Yo, real quick, we got a shout out to Edgy D in the chat from Mad Dog Steve. He says, "Edgy D, you looking buff, bro. You hitting the weights?" He is now.
Yeah, dog. It's March 1st. The Vax Pass just ended, and now I'm hitting the bench press, okay? No, to be fair, though, I was working out this whole time, and my parents have a dip rack that has the knobs at the top, so you could do the dips on, and they have the knobs on the bottom for your feet. But the knobs at the top, I use that as a squat rack and as an overhead press rack. And then I bought a cheap barbell, and then I took a bunch of weights from my parents' house. So I have a 45, 25, 10, and 15, and I was repping those weights, doing the overheads. It was an amazing for a squat rack, like a cheap squat rack. So I'm staying buff. Thanks, Mad Dog Steve. Appreciate that.
Edgy D doing the body weight exercises, staying jacked as shit.
Oh yeah, and I have fucking, what do you call it? The pull-up bar, and then I would use my weightlifting belt to attach kettlebells or extra weights to it with a chain. And then I would just try and do like max reps or like max volume for a few reps doing pull-ups. So whatever.
He's preparing for the fight with Derek Rance. It's gonna be
yeah. I'm gonna beat the shit out of Derek, so he's gonna be scared. Derek got really scared because I did one jiu-jitsu lesson, so he was immediately like changing his tone, like, me and Edgy gotta fight right now. He's a bitch. Because he didn't want me to get any more. But he should be more worried about me lifting, because I will fucking, when I choke him out, I'll just flex and his neck will break. So I don't know if Derek's in the chat, but you should watch the fuck out. Anyway, here's my new hero, Pat King. I'm no longer Diagolon or Canada First. I'm a Pat King respecter.
Pat King
We talked for an
enthusiast.
hour, during which he made all kinds of claims that simply aren't true. Vaccines are dangerous, he said.
Now they're saying children can get heart attacks. It's a common thing. Children can get strokes. It's a common thing.
Part of a conspiracy to get
That
rid
was
of
a good
Anglo-Saxons,
point.
he said.
That was a good point. And then they say,
Common thing. Children can get strokes. It's a common thing.
that was a good point. And now look at what they say next. I'm going to have to slow this down.
Part of a conspiracy to get rid of Anglo-Saxons, he said.
And you think the vaccine...
Part of the conspiracy to get rid of Anglo-Saxons. Now here's where the editing really kicks in.
Part of a conspiracy to get rid of Anglo-Saxons, he said.
And you think the vaccine's part of an effort to depopulate?
It is. Do your research.
Despite...
Okay. So they took something he said over a year ago, and then they asked him a question that had nothing to do with white people or Anglo-Saxons. It only had to do with vaccines and depopulation. And then they tried to use that answer as if it had something to do with the thing they just said.
Despite all of his offensive Facebook posts, he denied being a racist.
There's never been a racist derogatory comment out of my mouth. When you
Mr.
see,
King,
I would beg to differ, okay? You've said some, if not racist, racial stuff, but whatever, man. As if CBC is not racist themselves.
when you see the videos,
I
when
have
you see
watched
the videos,
them.
just because of
That's
the
right.
wording and the verbiage that I use doesn't make me a racist. That's just verbiage.
Verbiage. That's just verbiage.
This is
That's
exactly what I've been
just
talking about.
Verbiage.
He doesn't know like the words to say, you know, like verbiage isn't the right word, man. But
What does verbiage mean? I'm gonna look that up. I don't think verbiage means what he thinks it means. Verbiage. Speech or writing that uses too many words or excessively technical expressions.
Yeah, that's definitely not. No, definitely not.
That's just verbiage. Okay, I'm gonna put that on my soundboard. That's just verbiage. I love how confidently he says it. Yeah. Pat King is my spirit animal. I love this dude.
And you know he had like at least 3 beers before this interview.
Yeah. Oh yeah, fuck yeah. Man, the first Pat King video I ever saw, I was like, okay, so who is this guy? I don't have time. I do have some stuff about how he got more popular, and it's basically because he said he ended COVID, and it was all a lie. It was all like his retard, what do you call it? Explanation of what was going on, and he blew up on the Stu Peters show. So now he has several 100,000 followers on Facebook. So I watched one of his videos, and it was mind-boggling how many people enjoyed it and liked it. But in his video, he just talks about how he went to a bar and he talked to some British doctor about COVID or whatever, and then how he was just trying so hard not to beat the crap out of him. And how much he hated this guy for being like British. No, like for being like a posh British douchebag, thinking he was smarter than him. And there was just a guy in the background who was like hacking darts, like yeah, I agree with you. And he's like, I was just like, God, please, just let me not hit this guy. I was like, what the fuck is this? It's pretty entertaining, but I don't understand what this is gonna do. But boomers love that shit. Boomers love that kind of energetic, that Trailer Park Boysian type shit, that rhetoric. And now I'm a Pat King stan, apparently.
Rants against Justin Trudeau, made, he said, after he was denied a flight for being unvaccinated.
Yeah, that's fucked.
You have said about Mr. Trudeau, somebody's going to make you catch a bullet. Those are your words.
Holy, in a heat, there's been a lot more worse said about Justin
Well, I'm
Trudeau
not worried about that. You
at
said that.
moment.
Somebody's going to make you catch a bullet.
Ugh,
Somebody is going to make you catch a bullet, yes, for what you're doing to the people.
Well, do you not see that that's promoting violence?
That's not promoting
suggesting
violence.
That's
not. It's not. And that's a huge thing that they're trying to convince normies, that if you talk violently or if you reference violence, that you're promoting it.
Right.
And that is what they're trying to get Pat King with. That's what they're trying to get Jeremy with. And I think we really need to do a good job in educating people what the difference is. Because I think this is unprecedented territory with rhetoric that they're spewing, and we need to counter it.
Well, that's exactly what I said earlier, where it's not that he's saying he is going to shoot Justin Trudeau, and it's not that he's telling anyone to shoot Justin Trudeau. It's that he's saying, look, if you keep doing this to people, somebody's going to do something.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
And they would never go after somebody for implying that on the other end.
No, absolutely not.
Maybe
somebody was
Andy No and Ben Shapiro and the guys would go after it.
But think of Richard Spencer. I know so many people who were completely okay with Richard Spencer getting unprovoked, punched in the face just because he's a Nazi.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't like Richard Spencer at all. I think Richard Spencer is a stupid fuck. But at the same time, he did not deserve ever to get punched in the face just for being a person and being alive. And that's the same mentality that they're trying to ascribe to Pat King.
100%. I agree with that.
I don't think there's a good understanding in the average Canadian as to what
this fucking guy too. This guy looks like the most evil guy. He looks like Klaus Schwab's son, who still didn't get enough adrenochrome.
Dude, he didn't get enough sleep for like 4 months. This guy's eyes, like his bags, like
of our society. This growing recalcitrance amounting to judgments against our institutions, contributing to an abandonment of the institutions and the traditions and laws in Canada, is accelerating. Right?
It's accelerating. So they call us the accelerationists. And they try to pin Rage to be a neo-Nazi accelerationist, because that's what they're trying to do when they call Rage an accelerationist. They're trying to get him by association to be amongst Atomorphin and all that crap, which Rage has nothing to do with. Rage
and the other thing is, the real reality is the government is the accelerationist. When the government fires people from their fucking jobs, it makes them lose their houses, lose their cars, and lose their
accelerating political conflict.
Yeah, they're the acceleration.
That's what accelerationism is, and that's why Rage is talking about it. He's not talking about it because he wants people to go out and commit random, like, mass murdering hate crimes. That's absolutely not what he's trying to do. But they're trying to make that slippery slope connection to it, and it's absolutely disgusting. And trying to convince the public of something like that is criminal in and of itself, especially when you have this establishment power behind you.
And, like, I'm not suggesting anarchy, but, you know, you need only go out here on the weekend to see anarchy. That's going to keep accelerating unless we're able to
people getting drunk and high-fiving each other. Fucking
but how do you get a handle on what you don't appreciate as real? But those who chronicling only
extremist movement is...
Okay, this fucking guy, Justin Ling, the
we need to wake up to the fact that this extremist movement is born in Canada, raised in Canada, and has proliferated.
So they try to say that...
Look at her nodding. Ugh.
They try to say that, oh, it might have had foreign influence because of Trump or whatever, or some bullshit like that. But then this is the Vice guy who's saying, no, this is all here. This is all Canadian. This is all Jeremy and Pat King and yeah. That's what the point of this
extremist movement is born in Canada, raised in Canada, and has proliferated in Canada. We need to stop thinking that this is a thing we're importing from the States, that there's some shadowy figure, you know, around Donald Trump or around some extremist movement down south.
This is everybody.
That is really driving the bus here. This is a Canadian problem.
My brothers and sisters have my back, and thousands, tens of thousands, millions of Canadians are with us, and you know, we were willing to fight and die for this country before, and we'll do it again.
Yeah, let's go.
But Jeremy Mackenzie never claimed to be a protest organizer, and he remains free.
It's hard being slaves.
A video apparently placing him at a goat farm.
I did not get into this part of the goat farm. I was only in, like, the entry level goat farm, and there was like 30 goats and they were sucking on my fingers, and I was so like, oh my god, these goats, and I was acting like a kid in a fucking Disneyland with all these.
They're trying to make him out
goats.
to be some sort of evil villain, and then the next thing you know, he's just chilling with a bunch of baby goats.
Yeah, like these just were fucking.
But a telegram.
So okay, let me just pull that back a little bit.
Thousands, millions of Canadians are with us, and you know, we were willing to fight and die for this country before, and we'll do it again.
Based.
Jeremy Mackenzie never claimed to be a protest organizer, and he remains free.
So that's what they're trying to say. They're trying to say, why isn't Jeremy Mackenzie arrested? That's what they're trying to put in people's heads.
He remains free.
He remains free, even though he said things online. Like Pat
free
King.
to kill another day.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what they're trying to put into people's heads, that you should lock people up for being on a side, essentially.
Slaves.
A video apparently placing him at a goat farm. But a Telegram post was far less playful. Our resolve is infinite, he wrote recently. Their ammunition is finite. And
so you saying that they could shoot us all we want, we will still stand strong? I don't get it. Like, okay. You could use the power of the state with all your ammunition and your guns, we will stand strong. That's so terrible, man. These people have lost.
And what about the botters who started it all with their God-inspired mission?
So you're willing to leave right now? We don't.
Okay, anyways, Base Jeremy, that was fucking epic. He ended it off hardcore, good, peaceful as fuck. You know, they could send all the ammunition they want. We have infinite resolve. I don't know how that makes them look bad, but whatever, dude. I want to give you guys a halftime song by Greg Arcade.
Yo, let's go.
This song is fucking awesome. And we'll be right back, and we'll get into the AFPAC 3 coverage and reactions to some of the things that happened there. And it's going to be a really good time because there was some hilarious shit that happened, but some very interesting shit at the same time. So we'll be right back.
Well, in the words of Greg Arcade, you can fucking come and get it.
Like someone done gone messed up. Gonna be blood, them boys came dressed up. Heard someone's running their mouth. I heard somebody's been spreading around rumors. Figured they'd have hushed up by now, but time's up, ain't no way out. They've been making plenty of noise, but they should have known better than mess around with them boys. You on board, you said it, we got what you want, come and get it. You said it, we got what you want, come and get it. You're looking to fight, you said it, we got what you want, come and get it. You on board, you said it, we got what you want, come and get it. Far, only one way back. These boys are here for payback. So pay up or you best well stay back. What do y'all think you did? Picking a fight with them roughnecks and rednecks. You asked me, you should have just left them all alone. But you didn't. You thought this was a game. Who the hell you think you are playing? You on board? You said it. We got what you want, come and get it. You want blood, you said it. We got what you want, come and get it. You're looking to fight, you said it. We got what you want, come and get it. You want blood.
Hell yeah. That's fucking awesome, man. I love Greg Arcade songs, man. Bury Me With My Boots On is one of my new favorites. That might be the outro or another piss break song if I need to take one. But anyways, good to be back. I'm looking at some of the chat, and Colbert's mom was saying baby goats are racist. Apparently so, because they're showing them in a CBC Fifth Estate Hitpiece documentary. So those goats must be implicit with white supremacy because they're associating with Jeremy Mackenzie. Did I hear any of those goats condemning Jeremy's past comments? No. So what does that mean, Dr. Fact Check?
Yo, sorry, I just got back. I missed that. What was that?
I was saying the baby goats are racist that were shown in that documentary. And
well, yeah, they were white. I mean, yeah, come on.
Yeah, first of all, yes. But they also did not condemn all of Jeremy Mackenzie's past comments that were compiled by Andy 8. So they must be racist in and of themselves.
Yeah, no doubt. Yo, I just want to do a quick shout out to my buddy T-Train who's watching. Shouts out to T-Train, absolute T-Train? Legend. Yeah, T-Train, man. He's the legend, dude.
Is he black?
No, he's definitely not black.
T-Train?
He's base though. He's a good guy.
Okay. Well, anyways, shout outs to you, T-Train.
Yeah, mad respect. 07s to T-Train.
All right. Well, Trent Dabbs has a good point. He says, "Come on, bro. Where's BJ? That's the Fed." So BJ Dichter is one of the convoy organizers who dipped out and didn't get charged with anything, and he appeared multiple times on Tucker Carlson as the leader of the convoy, and he presented himself as a trucker. Not a trucker, first of all. And BJ Dichter is also known, when I first got involved with the Plaid Army, when Derek Rance and Jeremy Mackenzie, raging humanist at the time, talked to E. Michael Jones in an interview. They announced that they were going to talk to them, and this BJ Dichter guy apparently started a whisper campaign saying that you need to speak out against these guys talking to somebody who's an actual extremist. Extremist, why? Because he talked about something that he was uncomfortable with, or the people who were funding him were uncomfortable with. So it became a huge, rift in the right-wing conservative Canadian movement, because this guy was putting whisper campaigns in order to get people canceled for talking to people talking about Zionism, essentially.
Yeah,
that's BJ Dichter. That's BJ Dichter. And he's
LGBT Tory.
Yeah, LGBT Tory. He's also the founder of trying to bring LGBT issues into the Conservative Party. Buddy, what you do in your bedroom has nothing to do with what we want to do with politics and people's freedoms. You can fuck your gay boyfriend in the ass or get fucked in the ass all you want. Nothing to do with us. Nothing to do with politics. That's it.
Yes, no, straight up. Like, and BJ Dichter is so, he's such a fucking, like, when I watched that first interview, I realized right there how much of a grifter he was, because he literally took over the entire press conference. Like, there was the initial press conference when they first arrived in Ottawa, and it was Chris Barber, BJ Dichter, and Tamara Leach. And he literally spoke for like 45 out of 55 minutes. This guy just completely took over the entire thing. He was the one putting forward the message. And what was the first thing he does when they ask questions about political parties? He's like, well, we're not involved with the PPC, like, we don't want them to speak at our things. I told Maxime Bernier he can't speak at our things.
I had no idea.
He said that in the interview, man, and or in the press conference. And what killed me about that was Maxime Bernier is the only fucking federal political leader who's been out there against all of this stuff the entire time. How dare you throw him under the bus like that? Like, oh, we don't want to be involved with politics, when you're the guy who's behind the conservative LGBT shit. Like, fuck you, dude. This guy is such a grifter, such a piece of shit, and such a snake in the grass. I could tell from day one that this guy was full of shit.
You are hitting it on the nail on the head there, because I couldn't have expressed it as well as you did. Wow.
Well, that's why they call me the doctor.
You have the fact check on the situation, buddy. Fuck that BJ Dichter grifter. fuck that guy. I don't like to involve myself in knowing too much about people like that, but wow. Anyways, I want to move on to AFPAC. AFPAC 3 just happened. And if you don't know what AFPAC is, CPAC is the Conservative Political Action Convention or Committee or whatever. And they've been going on for multiple decades. It's the conservative convention in the United States. Now, people like Nick Fuentes, who I'm a fan of, have been banned from CPAC, and many other people have. So he has started his alternative to that, where they're actually right-wing. They're actually not a bunch of cuck-servatives who cuck for the establishment at every possible chance and only give lip service to people like Donald Trump when they want to install a border wall across the southern end of the United States, or do something that'll actually conserve the American people from being replaced, or whatever else is happening there. AFPAC is the alternative. And they have had 2 very controversial events so far, where at first it was just Nick Fuentes, where he's trying to, gain as much influence from his own talk show that he does, and they got banned off of YouTube, Twitter, and everything. And now he's honestly one of the most banned people in all of social media. So when I first really started to get into Nick Fuentes, probably maybe 2018 or early 2019, and by late or mid 2019, I was like, okay, this Nick Fuentes guy, he's killing it on YouTube. He's absolutely killing it with these Griper wars, where he's literally getting young people to go to these conservative events and to put the talking points that he is talking about on his shows and ask them in the Q&As about these things. So he called them his gripers, and they were griping these conservative university events. Now that is a very good powerhouse that you have right there. And his optics were great because they would focus on the issues. And when you're dealing with like these dissident movements, you have everybody wants to get in on it, especially when it's all about free speech. Then you have people like, yeah, I hate this, and this people. Let me get in on it. And then you have to like kind of keep them out because it's going to make you look bad. If you want to be the free speech guys, that can't be your only principle. Because then you'll start letting everybody into your movement and they'll destroy it. So he kind of reinvented the information that was going on in the right-wing sphere to be very specific, to say, hey, we care about demographics. Not in and of itself that we care about white identity as if we're purity spiraling, like white is right or any crap like that. No, it's just the fact that, hey, the American, Canadian, and European nations were built by ethnic Europeans. And that is the only way that it'll keep going in the same way culturally going forward into the future. And yes, we have room for other people to come here, but we have to be sensible about it, right?
Yeah.
And no, we don't treat people who are of different races differently within our nations. There's no room for discrimination. We are all citizens once we get in here. But you have to protect the borders, and you have to protect immigration. You have to stop immigration, essentially, and figure out what's going on inside our own borders. So that's my own take about the most controversial takes that are going to be had.
Well, and the other thing too with what Nick says is like, So you mentioned, we need to be worried about what goes on within our own borders, but really it comes down to we need to put our people first. And that means Canadians of all races and Americans of all races. We need to put them first, because the people that are here that are Canadian, no matter what race they are, they matter more than the people that we're bringing in. And the problem is, for 20 or 30, maybe even 50 years, we've had a society where our governments are not putting us first, and they're putting first the interests of, foreign people, and often rich foreign people, ahead of our own people. And now look at what's happened in our country, especially. You have housing market, or a housing market, I should say, where, most young people cannot even afford to even dream of owning a home right now. Like the average house, I think, is $800,000 where I live. So $800,000, it would take most people like 10 to 15 years to save up a down payment just to buy a house. And that's not right. And why is that happening? It's because we've prioritized wealthy immigrants who come into our country with money that wasn't created in our economy. And that offsets the economy. It destabilizes the economy, because now there's new money coming in. They have more money than the people that are already here trying to enter the housing market. So they can outcompete us for something as simple as a home, a roof over someone's head. And you multiply that across every single thing in our society: education, housing, jobs. Look at jobs. When somebody comes in from a poor country, they're going to take whatever they can get. They don't care about, making 50,000. They'll be like, 36, that's great, I'll take it. I'm just glad to be here. And that offsets the market for Canadian people that are trying to get a job, and it makes the wages go down. And even Statistics Canada admits this. It's on the Wikipedia article, for fuck's sakes. It says for every 10% increase in immigration, there's a 5% decrease in wages. So right there, you're seeing that immigration is lowering the wages of Canadian people. So we need to put our people first, and we need to, have a society where we care more about the Canadian citizen than we do about
GDP. GDP.
Yeah, well, exactly. And that's what their argument always is. Well, GDP. Well, how has GDP benefited you? How has GDP benefited me? Our GDP is increasing, but I can't buy a fucking house. Our GDP is increasing, but my wages are getting suppressed. Our GDP is increasing, but everything's going to shit. We have less healthcare per capita than we did in the 1990s, in terms of like beds and hospital staff and stuff like that. Like, we are losing a battle here. And what's happened is our society has been we've been put to sleep, because no one wants to be called racist, and no one wants to be called out for going against immigration. But immigration is negative. It's net negative for our citizens, and it's net negative for our society. And instead of encouraging our own people to reproduce, our government just would rather import new people and replace us. And that's a really sick, nasty thing when you think about it. Instead of saying to young people, hey, we're going to make the housing market more affordable so that you can get a house and maybe have a family, we're just going to import a bunch of people from India, or we're going to import a bunch of people from China, and they're going to do your jobs for you, and you're not going to have a bunch of kids, and you're not going to be able to afford a house. So we've put our citizens second to the interests of other people, and that's wrong. That is not what a nation is supposed to do. A country is supposed to take care of its people first and not second.
100%. So what I feel you're saying there is Canada first.
That's right. Canada first, baby.
Canada first, baby. Well, yeah. I appreciate that rundown. Thanks for that diatribe. I think that was very spot on. And I do want to introduce what Nick has been saying with a bit of a Hitpiece clip on Nick from the AFPAC convention.
America. They say about America, they say diversity is...
I'm just going to make sure you all can see that right now. You can see that?
Yep.
Dope.
They say about America, they say diversity is our strength, And I look at China and I look at Russia. Can we give a round of applause for Russia? Yes.
This is so funny.
Absolutely. They say about America.
That's it? Okay, so they're just trying to get his troll, out to people. As if he cares primarily about Putin. He's just fucking with these people. Anyways, what I do want to talk about is my main takeaways from AFPAC. So maybe if I just pull it up on his Telegram. I think ultimately his AFPAC convention was a success. And there was one specific post that I wanna bring up. Sorry, this might take me a second. Okay, there we go. I got it. He says the numbers for AFPAC are in 1,200 plus and 10Ds. And that's 3 times larger than the last AFPAC. And they had 9 current or former government officials, 2 sitting members of Congress, over 100 volunteer staff, and over 10,000 live viewers on his own cozy.tv separate platform from YouTube or whatever. And they raised a shit ton of money. Now that's pretty fucking good. To have all of that. Now, haters are going to say that because there were specific riffs among the speakers. And I will say, this whole event, it went on for about 4 hours from the first speaker to the last speaker. And they had the mystery guest speaker as Marjorie Taylor Greene. So no one knew that she was going to be there until she presented herself right at the beginning and did about a 10 to 20 minute speech. And that is a huge thing for her to be in that space, because now there's just multiple, probably dozens of articles saying that she was at a white supremacist event, rally, or whatever. And now Marjorie Taylor Greene was already somebody who was in the conservative movement trying to, like, make moves and whatever in Washington. So now she has this smear on her, but she has shown that she doesn't care. She'll, like, wipe it off the, like, dirt off her shoulder. So that is really important. But we're trying to have some fun here. So we're going to show all the most interesting moments of this. Now, I know when she was there, she said some pretty base things like Christ is king, we're gonna ban abortion, all this and that. But she also said kind of race doesn't exist in a sense. And they want to, like, ban race stuff. But at the same time, one of the points of AFPAC is to acknowledge that race does exist. There are biological realities of race. And a lot of the not the guest speakers, but, like, special guests of the event, like Jared Taylor, Peter Brimelow, all these different people who attended the event and were featured on the poster that was promoting it, these kind of people understand biological realism. So they would counter her claims of that. So she was kind of cucking in that sense when she was presenting those ideas to, like, the AFPAC crew, and the audience probably did not like that. But at the same time, you have a sitting congresswoman who's one of the most famous names for right-wing people in the United States at your conference. So you got to show some respect. They're really putting their money on the line there, and you got to show some fucking respect. And we'll show where that did not actually come into fruition. With the Stu crew, with none other than Stu motherfucking Peters. Stu Peters. This guy does not give a fucking fuck. Okay, so Stu Peters was one of the people who did a speech at AFPAC.
The legendary Stu Peters.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to start by showing Stu Peters' Wikipedia, because I think it has a pretty funny explanation of what he does.
Oh, it's long. Ooh.
No, it's not that long. That's just his career. It says in
No, I'm
2021. Oh yeah. It seems like they just made it for this. And it says he was a speaker at the 2022 America First Political Action Conference, where he called for Anthony Fauci to be lynched by hanging and for Verdun Jones to be executed by electric chair before being rebuked by conference organizer Nick Fuentes. Well, what he also did was he fucking he counter-signaled Marjorie Taylor Greene after she had just done a pretty good speech. She didn't agree with everything that AFPAC was about, according to Nick Fuentes, but she had a pretty good speech. Most of it was spot on. But Stu Peters wanted to dig deep into her for it.
And just so everyone knows, I think it was Marjorie Taylor Greene was like the first speaker, then it was Vincent James, and then was Stu Peters. So like it was like the first and third speeches, and this is what he said. This is just unbelievable shit.
Yeah. So I have what he said about Marjorie Taylor Greene right here. It's amazing. So this guy looks like he's like a coked out, I don't know what he's doing, but it's fucking hilarious. Okay, you can see that? Nice. I might have to turn it up a bit. Okay, desktop audio all the way up. There we go.
They basically ignore talking about the border because they only care about milking ratings by getting the latest own on Biden. It's disgusting. Last October, when Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was just here, heard about Chairman Biden offering reparations to illegal immigrants, she complained that Biden was giving money to illegals while snubbing a reparations bill for Black Americans. Congresswoman Greene was embracing race-based reparations to own the libs.
Boo!
This is right after she spoke.
Great job, Marge.
Marge.
Disgusting.
Oh.
Disgusting.
You know what? He's right about that, but she came to AFPAC, which means that she's on her way to, not being like that anymore. And it's just completely destructive for him to be like that in this scenario.
Yeah, it counter signals so hard to the entire movement.
Counter signals, yes. And if you want to be constructive about it, if you wanted to make the same point, he could be constructive about it and say, you're here now, so what do you say? Right? But he's just shaming. He's being, he's being a loose cannon about it, essentially. This is a good way to say it.
There's another guy. Wait, hold on.
Oh,
raise your hand if you're from Georgia.
He goes on about this black guy, Vernon Jones, that he wants to, that he absolutely hates. Whatever, some black conservative dude. But anyways, this is what he had to say about Fauci. And this is an interesting thing to talk about right here. Let's see the caption that says, tonight, far-right podcaster Stu Peters spoke at an event, blah, 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 blah. He said that Dr. Fauci should be hanging by the end of a noose somewhere. After spouting this dangerous rhetoric, the crowd erupted, chanting, hang him up. Evil. Well, first of all, if anybody deserves this kind of rhetoric, it's Dr. Fauci, for sure. He literally does deserve to be hanging, if not worse. But that's not my call to make. And we're just going to watch how this goes out.
Tony Fauci basically, no, not basically, literally unleashed a bioweapon on the entire world. Why is this man still running around free instead of hanging by the end of a noose somewhere?
That's based, but it's a Fed post. It's a Fed post. You do not need this kind of crap at a political convention. And then he goes on to do the same thing with multiple other people that he has a problem with. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, man?
Yeah, it's like he used the platform to like air all of his grievances in a super Fed posty way where he's just glowing. Like he's literally calling for violence, like with a statement like that. Why is he not hanging from a noose? You know, like, bro, God, I mean, Jesus Christ.
It is a step further than you're gonna catch a bullet one day, Trudeau.
Yeah, exactly. How can you even compare? Like the left would say that like Pat King and this guy are in the same boat, but it's like, no, this guy is like pretty upfront and he's much more coherent and he knows what he's saying. Pat King is just like bumbling through his words and says dumb shit.
And it's like, I don't know what Stu Peters is trying to accomplish with this. Is he trying to just burn it down? Because that's exactly what it seems like he's trying to do.
I honestly think that like I think he's a little bit egotistical, and I think that he built himself up before this and thought, you know, like, this is my moment to like come out and go full mask off and say everything that I've ever wanted to say, when it's like, no, this is like Nick's event. You should have been respectful. You should have just come out and made a good speech, you know, without going too extreme.
I cannot imagine Stu getting a crowd of over 1,000 people to come out in pure enthusiasm, paying hundreds of dollars to get a ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Stu, you may have 300,000+ followers on Telegram, but they're probably, a lot of them are botted, and they're boomers, which doesn't mean anything because they're probably retarded.
Yeah, no, I think all in all, Stu Peters just did more damage than any good in this entire, you know, event. Like I think it would have been a better event if he didn't speak, because when I was watching the event, the biggest takeaway I got from it was when he went in on Marjorie Taylor Greene, I could sense the audience awkwardness. I could sense the audience like not knowing whether to agree with him or not. Like they were kind of like
room and just reading the sense of the event that you're at, and having some respect from the people that platformed you.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. It's not all about you, Stu Peters. It's you know, it's bigger than you, and you should just.
And we understand what he was getting at with that, but there's
Yeah.
a way to do it, and he could have even been the guy who took a jab at Marjorie Taylor Greene, the headline speaker, but he fucked it up by just being absolutely disrespectful to everybody involved with the event.
Yeah, he could have come in there and been like, so I noticed we have Marjorie Taylor Greene here tonight. You know, I appreciate you being here, Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I really wish, you know, you would do X, Y, and Z. He could have said it in more constructive kind of terms.
It's a way to be constructive as opposed to destructive. And
yeah, I totally agree.
He was just being destructive towards what they were trying to accomplish there. So, you know, people who don't like Nick Fuentes will be like, Stu crew, we love Stu, you told it how it is. And it's like, we understand the points he was trying to make, but really, are you the guy who, is Stu the guy who got thousands of young people to come out to see him? Pay hundreds of dollars to come out to see him? No, he's not. So he's just shitting on the stage, essentially.
Yeah.
So now we have Joe Arpaio.
Arpaio, yeah.
Arpaio, okay. The sheriff. I didn't know who this guy was before, but apparently he's like a dope sheriff that got a bunch of people to volunteer around the border to stop illegals from coming in. So this is one of the funniest clips from the event. Me and you were actually watching this together, and we're laughing our asses off.
Well, the speaker just before
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see how this unfolds.
Well, the speaker just before me, I don't know if he's still around, but he has some good points. I have the reputation of being the biggest racist in the country. Think of that.
Applause.
Well, I hate
I have the reputation of being the biggest racist in the country, followed by absolute applause.
I hate to. What are you clapping for? That I am or I'm not?
Everyone's laughing. This dude is 89 years old, he gave a 40-minute long speech. That is way too long. That's my biggest thing about AFPAC. It was 4 hours long from beginning to end of speakers. No, that's bad. Have it 2 days, 2 hours each. There you go.
Yeah, they should have had a timer on him.
Right, but this boomer, he's just fucking, he's a really good guy, but yeah, this is really funny.
And I know you guys and gals aren't either. You're just trying to do the right thing for our
And that's
country.
true. They're trying to do the right thing. We're not
So,
racist for this
if
shit.
I'm the biggest racist. Well, actually, I started off my law enforcement career after I left the Army. I joined the Army when the Korean War broke out and joined the Metropolitan Police Department. They're in the news every day because of the Capitol thing. I walked the black beat for 4 years. Now, they got me on racial profiling. Obama and Biden and a judge, a federal judge, to try to hang me, and he did. He did. I'm not going to get into that. So I know a little about
89 years old.
policing. So maybe I did racial profile. At least they could. At least. No, wait a minute. Hold on. Let me clarify it.
Maybe I did racial profile. Everybody starts fucking cheering. That's so funny, man. This boomer.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on there, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Fucking so funny. Okay, so I have a clip of him. The other best part of this Joe, what's his name again? Arpaio. So he has a signature pink underwear that he brings out. This is fucking unreal. You guys will not fucking believe this shit. Okay. You guys are still okay. You can see
New York
that.
Times knows about it. Must be a lot of snitches in the White House.
Imagine just watching this guy for 40 minutes. AFPAC. Oh my goodness. You say what you want about AFPAC. This is hilarious. So watch this.
So one thing about the pink underwear, I'll tell you something. This is
One thing about the pink underwear. Let me tell you something, Sonny.
a war on drugs.
There's a war on drugs. Well, he's waving the pink underwear around.
89 years old, holding
89
pink
years
underwear.
old at like a supposed white nationalist conference in front of like over 1,000 like yeah fucking groypers.
Yo, and real quick before you play it, the backstory on this was he made the prisoners wear
I know. He's gonna say it. Okay.
Okay.
And cops.
Spoiler alert.
Because when I was a sheriff, I put all the inmates in pink. I bet some of you must have some. Anybody have the pink underwear? If you're not, you must have been on in the moon.
No, these kids are like 2 years old or like 18 years old. They don't know about the pink underwear, Joe or Pargio. No one knows about the pink underwear, you boomer. Amazing though. This is so funny.
So why did I put the inmates in pink? Official reason? They were stealing the white underwear out of the jail and selling it on the black market. So I figure if we have the only pink, we know it's ours. Official reason. The other reason I give is...
So, because the inmates were stealing the white underwear and they could sell it wherever, so now they made their signature pink underwear so they couldn't do that, which is pretty good. That's very logical.
They hate pink. What do you give them color they like? The other reason I give...
So the other reason he gives, listen to this.
Official reason. The other reason I give is they hate pink. Why do you give them a color they like?
These blacks, they hate pink. They look gay in these gay underwear. This is against the Geneva Convention, man. You can't just be putting these niggas up in pink undies, yo.
Yeah.
Shit, how they gonna be repping gang signs when they be wearing pink undies, man? That shit is
Shit, nigga, I'd rather be in Guantanamo than have to wear this pink motherfucking drawers.
God damn, the Sheriff Joe be hard
Sheriff
as
Joe
fuck,
put me up in these
nigga.
pink drawers, nigga.
Shit. Sorry, my sheet was very high pitched and long going there. I do want to play a bit of a Greg Arcade song while I take a break, and we'll be right back. We'll show some of Jesse Lee Peterson's part of this AFPAC, and then we'll do a little bit of Russia, Ukraine, and then we'll get out of your hair, okay? All right.
Let's do it. Greg Arcade, the legend.
This song is fucking amazing.
Shouts out to Canadian music.
When I die and when I'm gone, bury me with my boots on. Play my favorite country song. Burn that fire till the wood's all gone. Burn that fire till the wood's all gone. Keep it bright till the break of dawn. Don't be sad if I am gone. Just bury me with my boots on. When I die and when I'm gone, bury me with my boots on. Play my favorite country song. Burn that fire till the wood's all gone. Be it gun or be it rope, be it free from pain, I hope. And if it be when I am old, just bury me with my boots on. When I die and when I'm gone, bury me with my boots on. Play my favorite country song. Burn that fire till the wood's all gone. This is where I was born and raised. This is where I'll end my days. When Jesus lays me in my grave, I pray that I'll be saved, and that I lived in a way that makes those around me proud to say, when I die and when I'm gone, bury me with my boots on. Play my favorite country song. Burn that fire till the wood's all gone. When I die and when I'm gone, bury me with my boots on. Don't be sad if I am gone. Just burn that fire till the wood's all gone.
Pretty fucking based. Let's go. Hiding knives in boots. I'm all for that. But anyways, I want to get right back into what we're doing. And my favorite speech of the night was Jesse Lee Peterson. This fucking guy made this night. I don't know if it's his just magical Negro spell, where all the things he says are just so funny.
But, yeah, I'm back.
Sorry, I was just saying that JLP is a magical Negro. Is that racist?
No, that's not racist.
Is that respectful?
Negro, it means black person in Spanish.
Right. Well, I'm saying he's like the typical magical Negro in that he gets everything right somehow. I don't even know how smart he is, but he just gets it all right.
Jesse Lee Peterson is a legend, man.
Right. So just listen to what he says. It's fucking amazing. So let's go.
Organization of a new.
Is this loud enough for people? I'm just going to throw that question out because I know the volume for this specific video is low and I turned it up. Just let me know if you could hear this.
Destiny, and our purpose is to rebuild the family by rebuilding the man, bringing back God's order. And that order is God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, and woman over children. Nothing else is going to work.
Yeah, it's a little quieter than we are, so I turn it up a bit.
And
I can't really
we've
turn
been
it up
around
more.
now
I'll
for
turn it up all the way.
32 years. This February, it makes our 32 years of Bond, better known as Bond. We have an entrepreneur program where we are teaching young men how to start businesses and how to run businesses. We started a credit union because a lot of the guys didn't have good credit. I don't know if white women do this, but black mothers take your credit and use it in her name when you're a baby. And
so black mothers use their son's credit and fucks them over. So they need to come to this guy's credit union where he filters for actual, black men who are actually trying to start a real business.
When you're trying to grow up, you can't use, that's right, baby.
That's fucking base.
You can't get credit. So we started a credit union for our entrepreneur program to loan the money to the guys and they pay it back so we can keep it going. We also have an academy that we're building on radio, 24-hour talk of all conservative men only. 24 hours of talk, and it's just been amazing.
So that's pretty fucking awesome. I have multiple other sound bites of him being awesome. 322. 17. Perfect.
Battle is a spiritual battle. It's more guys
right
lined
here.
up. I want to tell you that our battle is a spiritual battle. It's a warfare between good and evil, right versus wrong. There's no such thing as racism, sexism, homophobism, Islamophobism, Allah-u-Abbaism, Dad-be-Dad-ism, white supremacism, anti-Semitism. It is either good or bad, right or wrong. It's good or evil. It's good or evil. And we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spirits and principalities and wickedness in high places. And I want you to know that so that when they call you names, when they call you races or Arkansas, I've been called every name in the book and then some. Some of the names I'm not familiar with, right? But I love what's right. I love God with all my heart, all my soul, and all my might. I love God above anything else. And because I love him, he took away the fear. So I have no fear. And I want to tell you quickly how to overcome fear. And I used to have fear. I was a beta male at one time.
A beta male.
I was beta.
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 Beta. Beta. And I grew up on a plantation down in Alabama. I grew up under the Jim Crow laws and all that stuff that you hear all the time. But I can honestly tell you, growing up, because I had my grandparents, I had my parents, they didn't hate. They told us to treat all the way that we would like to be treated. And they said that there was good and evil in all human beings. There are those who are good, and there are those who are evil. And so I grew up with that understanding. But when I moved to Los Angeles at 18, I started to listen to Jesse Jackson and others, the civil rights movement, so-called civil rights movement. The civil rights movement was the worst thing that ever happened to the blacks. It was the worst thing. It really was. It was the worst thing.
It's so true, because the civil rights movement got them all uppity, saying that whites are the cause of all their problems, when before it was just all their responsibility. Now,
yeah, it gave them the victim complex where they blame someone else and they blame like an existential, societal cause for all of their problems, when in reality, you know, you got to go down to the individual level. Are you doing everything that you can do to make your life better? And they would just blame the white man for everything. They blame society for everything, and it's not their fault. Nothing that ever happens to them is their fault. And that internalized victim complex has been, you know, we've seen it on display for the last 20 years, really, and especially in the last 2 or 3 with the whole BLM riots and stuff like that.
100%. Yeah. And you see where that came from. It's a post-World War II domination of the psyche of our nations, where now all of a sudden we're multicultural states, and all of a sudden white people bad.
Yeah. A lot of people like to think that Canada has always been this multicultural society and that we're supposed to be open, you know, have open arms to the whole world to bring in your poor huddled masses. No, that's bullshit. That all started in 1965. And you look back, like in the United States and Canada, it was a massive shift in the 1950s, the late 1950s, where all of a sudden they shifted the immigration from being heavily European, especially Anglo-European and Franco-European, to being, you know, outside of that. So places like Africa and the Middle East and India and China and stuff like that.
So who are the masterminds behind that policy?
Well, the masterminds behind that policy were people that were involved in the Frankfurt School. So the Frankfurt School was basically like a group of communist people. We won't get into what their group may or may not be, but basically there was a bunch of communists who were expelled from Germany. They came over to the United States and they infiltrated academia. And they were the ones heavily pushing all of this multiculturalism and multicultural society, because they knew that what is the best way that we can destroy this powerful culture that we've come into, you know.
So you're talking about like cultural Marxism involving like Freudian philosophies, like you know how which Jordan Peterson would say, those bloody neo-Marxists. These are those bloody neo-Marxists, man. They think that stacking up everybody against white people or against males is all for the good, and it's not for the good.
Absolutely. And what they did was they basically wanted to create silos within our society, because when a society is homogenous and they have a shared tradition and a shared culture, it's harder to destroy them, you know, with vices. It's harder to destroy them with wars. It's harder to destroy them economically. But when you silo all of our cultures, so like look at our culture now.
Silo, what does that mean?
Well, they like to pretend that we're a multicultural society, but we're not. So, for example, they create a silo where there's like, you know, at a farm, there's a silo, and the silo is like a tall structure that holds a lot of grain. But what they've done is they've created one silo of the whites, and they've created another silo of the Chinese, and they've created another silo of the Indians, and another silo of the blacks. And we're all in our different silos, and we all kind of, you know, work and help and hang out with the people that are in our silo. But we don't go and group out, you know, we don't go and search outside of our silo. Basically, we're kind of stuck in.
Well, whites don't have a silo, I don't think.
Well, no, certainly not. And frankly, our culture and our history like was kind of multicultural before this. But what they've done is they've created a society wherein the Chinese people that come here look out for other Chinese people, and the Indian people that come here look out for other Indian people, and everyone has their own in-group preference. And they like to pretend that it's evil for white people to have this, but everyone has this. It's a natural thing where like you hang out with people that are like you and share your culture and share your traditions and share, you know, your language, whatever it may be. But like there are people that are like you, and so they've stripped away our traditional heritage and our traditional culture where we're like together as Canadians, and now there's the Chinese versus the blacks, you know, with the Asian hate thing. And then there's the whites versus everybody, because we're the evil oppressors that are in control of this all, and we're orchestrating everything against these poor minority groups. So they've created.
So is what you're trying to say is that there's a necessity if Chinese or Asian, whatever you want to call it, black, Asian, whatever, these people have their own organizations or initiatives that can consolidate them on their own interests, that us as white Europeans who are being attacked and say with policies that say, hey, if you're white, you are not a minority, and you don't get any special privileges. So that means that you're going to get beat within a job if there's a minority who wants that job.
It's like this, okay? So before
so we can't defend ourselves against this? Is that what you're
Yes,
trying to
for
say?
sure. But before this happened, it was Canadian identity. We were all Canadians. It didn't matter if you were from Germany. It didn't matter if you were from France. It didn't matter if you were from England. You were a Canadian. We were
Was that the
Canadians
Trojan
together.
horse?
But
that
now
we had
what
a
they've
Canadian
done is,
identity,
well,
but there
now
is no Canadian identity.
I know what you're saying, but think about it this way. So we were Canadians, and then now there's Chinese Canadians and there's Indian Canadians. So those are the silos I'm talking about. So now there's different groups with a hyphenated dash Canadian, you
Right.
know. So Chinese Canadians are going to look out for
Right.
Chinese Canadian interests.
Okay.
And they're not going to share the identity of being Canadian holistically. So that's kind of the idea of the silos, is where they kind of split us up and they divide us and they put us into our tribalistic groups, so that there's all of this infighting and all of this, you know, attacking of what it is to be Canadian, and ultimately attacking Canada as a country.
Right. Well, if you can't even make sense of what is going on with that and can't talk about it responsibly, then yeah, we are in a situation that's way over our heads, right? So people of any descent that's not European can consolidate in their own specific groups, and not only that, they are encouraged to do it by the establishment. They're encouraged to consolidate over the fact that they're not white, essentially. And then to have grievances against people who are white for no other reasons than this specific polarization. So then what are white people supposed to do? Are they supposed to just come in and be like, race doesn't exist? And the Ben Shapiro-esque talking point? No. You've got to get your fellow whites together, and you got to say, hey, what the hell is going on? And you don't got to stop at your fellow whites. You got to just expand that to anybody who understands what is going on in the situation. What is the specific context? How are you getting screwed over? Anybody could understand what is going on here. So you got to invite anybody who understands the truth. You don't got a purity spiral to say only white people could be with my crew. No.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm of the mindset, and you know, maybe some of the people that are watching disagree with this, but I'm of the mindset that the Canadian identity is not exclusive to white people. The Canadian identity is indigenous, and it's francophone, and it's anglophone, and that's what Canadian is. If you're a Canadian person, you either come from British ancestry, Scottish ancestry, Irish, Welsh, or French, or you're indigenous, because the indigenous people were here. Like it or lump it, they were here before we got here, and they're part of the Canadian identity too. So that's the way I view it. But I don't think that somebody from India, you know, is a Canadian. And I'm never going to think that somebody from India is a Canadian. They're an Indian person. I don't care if they were born in Canada. Their family is Indian. They look at their skin color. That's not who Canada is. That's not what Canada was and was created. You know, to me, it's like in 1867, when this country was founded, the people that were here, those are the Canadians. And you know, people may disagree with me on that, but that's kind of my mentality with it, is like, I have no problem if people immigrate to Canada, you know, under, you know, very strict limits, of course. But if people immigrate to Canada and they're black and they're from Africa, that's fine. But I'm not going to pretend that they're a Canadian, right? Because my ancestors were here in the late 1600s, okay? And my ancestors built this fucking country from the ground up. My great-great-great-grandfathers literally had just bare tools, like a hammer and an axe and a saw, and they built homes for their families. These people were pioneers and conquerors and settlers. They were not fucking, you know, some sort of colonialist evil force that was here to like abuse the natives and like take over their land or something. There was nothing here, dude. We fucking made this country what it was. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like anyone can be Canadian because they move here. That's not how it works. Okay, the people that are Canadian are Anglophones, Francophones, and Indigenous people. That's my mentality on it. And the indigenous people would probably loathe me for saying that because they don't like Canadians or whatever. They have a big victim complex like they do. But that's the way it is. It's like 1867, we were founded as a country. Those people were the people that founded this country. Those are Canadians. And I wouldn't expect some black person moving to Sweden to be like, oh yeah, I'm Swedish now because I moved here. It's like, no, you're fucking African, like you're a Nigerian or whatever you are. Like, I don't know. People need to have a little bit more pride in their cultural and traditional heritage, I think. And I do have pride in my heritage. My family were incredibly brave and strong people who came over from England when this country was nothing but a barren wasteland full of fucking bears and wolves, and they didn't even have guns back in those days. And they were out here, living a hard life, trying to create a new life for their families and a new life and, for the future. And they did. And I'm so grateful to those people for doing that. And yeah, I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent. I better stop.
No, that was great. Yeah. I think you just knocked it out of the park. And you said what needed to be said. You have a history here with your ancestors, and that's a biocultural ethno marker of your stake within this country.
Yeah.
And you can't really fuck with that.
Yeah. So like when somebody from, they're a second generation immigrant comes over and tells me that I'm racist and I'm bad and I'm evil because of the color of my skin, I'm not even offended because of the words they use. I'm offended because, like, who are you to come to my country and tell me that I'm a piece of shit and that I'm the evil person here when this country wouldn't exist without my ancestors? This is our home, okay? If you don't like it, you can go back to your fucking place and fix your shit, right? Like, look at what's happened with COVID, man. So many people are like, oh, I want to move to America. I want to move to America because it's better there and it's safer and they don't have the COVID bullshit. What are you, man? How can you abandon your fucking homeland where you're from, where your ancestors are from, just because it's easier somewhere else? That's what the immigrants do. The immigrants look somewhere else in the world and they're like, wow, it's way better really in Canada. So I'm going to come over to Canada and I'm going to fucking live the easy life because I don't want to work hard.
On people based on what the mainstream media narrative says over there.
Yeah,
they have no idea what's going on to us and what's going on here.
And those same people that come here because it's so much better here, think of what their countries would be like if they fixed their own fucking places, man. If they had some national pride in their own hearts where they stayed in India or they stayed in Africa and made it a better place, maybe it wouldn't be such a shithole. Maybe people wouldn't want to fucking come here if Africa was great because they stayed there and made it a better place for their own people. But they don't care about their people. They don't have national pride. I don't think
they could do that, to be honest.
Oh,
That's why we don't want them fucking over here, okay?
I understand what you're saying, but
seriously,
my point. Like,
yeah, I get your point, but holy fuck.
But it's coming
like
from all
Africa.
places.
Make one African country great first, and then we'll take you here on mass.
Well, Africa may be a bit of a stretch, but I'll give you another example. So I have a family member who introduced me to these Colombians, okay? And these Colombians came to Canada as refugees, okay? And I'm like, wow, okay, interesting. Can you tell me your story? So I listened to their story. And these people were elite in Colombia. They had fucking private chefs. They had fucking maids and nannies and people to clean up after them in their houses. These people were living better lives in Colombia than I am in my own country. And why did they come to Canada? For opportunity, for money, so their parents could get better jobs. And they came here as refugees. They lied and they said that they were fucking, oh, well, the cartel, blah, 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 the cartel. They lied to get into our country because they, rather than fix their own country and make more opportunities for themselves there, they came here because it was easier to do. That is a horrible mentality. And that is the crux of the problem that's going on with our immigration system is everyone's fleeing to Canada because we have it so good. But what made it so good? What made Canada so fucking good, man?
I'm sure once they get in here and they do well because they already have money, that they're going to be a success story for immigration, right?
Well, that's the thing.
They were refugees, and now they're like business owners telling us what to do.
Yeah, now they're property owners in Oakville who own multiple rental properties and squeeze us out of our own fucking country, these pieces of shit. And it bothers the fuck out of me that they would leave their own country being that rich and that wealthy and that prosperous and come to Canada on refugee status of all things. Because of opportunity. How about you go fucking fix your own shithole, man? You guys are from Colombia too. Colombia is one of the richest countries in Latin America. Like, don't pretend that it's some war zone. Don't pretend that it's Syria in 2013. Okay, yeah. You guys were living a good life. You had private chefs, and you came to Canada because you wanted it easier. You lazy fucking entitled pieces of shit, man. It pisses the fuck off out of me.
Okay, let's calm you down. We'll get some Jesse Lee Peterson. This guy's fucking hilarious, and I think he'll soothe your mood.
Prior to that, black
Let's
people
go.
had no leadership. God was the leader, right? And parents were the head of the children. And that order worked. We were taught to work. I used to have to pick cotton before after I get out of
So he's
school.
gonna talk about how awesome it is to pick cotton.
Oh, yo, it's not up on the screen.
Cotton?
Okay, thanks. There we go.
You have not lived until you pick cotton. It was amazing.
Phased.
I remember that I would have to catch the bus to go to school at 7 a.m. My grandparents would make me get up to go and bring the cow from the field to the barn, milk the cow, feed the cow, and put the cow back out to pasture, come home and get dressed for school, be at the bus at 7 p.m. At 7 a.m. Isn't that amazing? I was taught to work. I was taught to be responsible. So I do want to tell you how to be born of God. God said that we must be born again. And if anyone, and I'm a living witness, if anyone has any anger at all, one iota of anger, then Satan is your daddy.
Hey, that's me.
That's a good point, man. If you have anger and you're putting it on display, Satan is consuming you. And there's something about Jesse Lee Peterson where I don't think he's the smartest guy ever. I think he probably has like a 90-ish, maybe 100 IQ. And he has his own whole business surrounding him. And he's doing all these great things for the African American community. But he doesn't have any anger. So if you try to fuck with him, you'll be like, he does not fucking care.
Yeah, smile on his face.
Smile on his face. And I do think that anger is an emotion that gets you riled up. And then maybe there's some situations where it might be useful. But in the vast majority of situations, anger is counterproductive. Anger will cloud your judgment onto what the best thing is to do going forward. And even if the best thing to do going forward is a harsh decision where you're going to fuck somebody over hard, anger does not help. Anger clouds that situation. You got to be stoic going forward. And I think Jesse Lee Peterson is 100% correct in this.
God is not your daddy. You can read the Bible until the cows come home. You can accuse, but if you have one bit of anger, Satan is your daddy, and you're not going to win this battle. We cannot, as human beings...
You're going to get manipulated because the powers that be understand your emotions, and they will manipulate your anger, and they will spot it immediately. That's just the way it is. Now, there is something where, like, a passion will get you motivated to maybe do the right thing, but I think that's different from anger. I feel like anger is a very sinful kind of... It's only going to lead you in the wrong direction.
Jesus, Edgy, I feel like this is an intervention after my fucking rants.
Yeah, you have too much... No, I don't think that was anger, necessarily. Well,
no,
there's such a thing as righteous anger, though, where you get so mad that you have a righteous anger and a passion that comes about you. But I think what he's trying to project here is that if you have an anger that makes your emotions get out of whack, right? I understand what he's saying, but at the same time, I do think that there's a passion that motivates you. But
yeah, well, I think that there's like a line between being upset, which is like normal. You can be upset about what's going on, but it's like when you're like, when you are consumed with anger to a point where it becomes you're enacting evil onto other people, you know, and like
that
you
makes
have
sense.
evil
Yeah,
intentions.
That's a good line to delineate what's
We
going
can
on.
disagree, we can speak up, but we cannot hate anyone. Men, women, it doesn't matter what color you are. If you have one iota of anger, you're not
One
gonna make it.
iota.
You're gonna overreact. You're gonna
overreact, and we got to be careful not to overreact because this is a game of chess.
You're gonna overreact. You're gonna act at the wrong time, and you will be limited in your imagination. Every thought about anything is evil. It's the nature of Satan. All thoughts are all lies all the time about anything.
So, I think you did make a really good point on that, but here's another part.
And I want to say that white people are the most attacked people on this side of heaven today.
100%.
The most attacked. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing to see it. They accuse white folks for everything. You forget and leave your dog at home, and they'll blame you for it. It is wrong, and they can get away with it because you're afraid. You're afraid to say, no, I'm not a racist. There's no such thing as racism. I've been telling white people for years, when they start doing the knockout games, when they start calling you racist.
Knockout games, so black people would just go around looking for victims to knock out and film it and laugh about it. For like a gang initiation or for content. It happened. No one talked about it.
Y'all need to speak up here, because all you're doing is bringing the worst out of your enemy. When you don't stand up for yourself, you encourage people to pounce on you. I don't
100%. If you don't stand up for yourself, like if you get into an argument with an anti-white, non-white person who's like attacking you, if you don't fucking stand up for yourself, they're just gonna have less respect for you. So just stand up for yourself. Don't be a bitch.
Yeah, never apologize for being born white.
I see women all the time now smacking men at the airport. At the airport and crowding. And the husband says something to her and she smack him. Or she curse him out. And he just sit there and look like a dummy. If you hit me, you're going down.
Yo. Just illegal. Smack a bitch, motherfucker.
When I was growing up, and my little female cousins or my sisters were having trouble.
Yeah, basically he's talking about how he smacked the shit out of his cousins. That's fucking epic. Anyways, where are we at? We have one or two more. Oh yeah, the George Floyd soundbite. Okay, so we've gone for over 2 hours now, so we'll just kind of end it off of this. We don't need to get into the Ukraine Russia stuff.
Boring.
And yeah, it's all just a distraction. Okay, the only thing that matters is here, right now, within our own borders. Okay. So maybe next stream we'll start off with that stuff. It was pretty funny. Either way, but here we go. Jesse Lee on George Floyd.
White History Month, because I noticed that they
White History
Month.
Month.
Be celebrating our 4th come July, if the Lord is willing and the creek don't lie.
Yes.
We're going to be celebrating our 4th year of White History Month.
Yeah. White History Month. Let's go. Amazing.
So we started White History Month because I noticed that they celebrate everything but White History Month. They got Mama's Day, Daddy's Day, a little bit Daddy's Day. They have a Gay Day.
Gay Day.
They have Indian Day. They have
Indian Day.
Day.
Japanese.
They have.
It's so fucking funny.
Everything but White History Day a month, right? So I said, you know what? I'm not gonna let my country go down like this. White people built America, and we need to remember that. We need to know the real history. They were tearing down the statues and monuments. They allowed a bunch of fat, black, radical lesbians.
Lesbians.
A far left, liberal, radical, agitative, evil organization that was founded by black radical lesbians. Beta!
Let's go.
Black Lives Matter. They allowed these people to tear down the monuments and statues of great men who built the greatest country in the world. Everybody and their mama tried to come here from everywhere, right? And they allowed these folks to tear down the statue and put up somebody like George Floyd.
They'll boo George Floyd, but he makes one of the best points coming up here.
So can you imagine walking out of...
Yeah, so this is it. You just have to imagine the situation, and it's so true what he's saying.
So can you imagine walking down the road, here you are, a little kid, walking down the road with your dad and your mama, and you see a George Floyd. You're like, look, mama, who is that? Oh, that's George Floyd. Well, what did he do, mama? Oh, he was an unemployed drug addict with a criminal record. Oh, that's what I want to be one day, mama. We should allow this to just... The only reason you allow it to happen, you have fear. You have fear of being called a name.
That's who they're putting a statue up of, man. It's fucking insane.
If you love anything more than you love God, you're going to lose. We should love him with all our heart, soul, and might. And our
right here, too.
As ourselves, right? And in him, there is no fear. There's no fear. And in closing, I want to say, I used to have...
So this world is so sick that they will put George Floyd, the criminal drug addict, he literally swallowed all the fentanyl that he had on them. That's why he was overdosing on 3 times the lethal amount. Probably why. I don't have proof of that, but it makes sense. Why was he on 3 times the lethal dose of fentanyl while he's in the middle of an arrest? And they're putting statues up of this guy. 30 people died as a result of the resulting riots of George Floyd's arrest.
Yeah, Black Lives Matter so much that 30 people died protesting that guy's death.
Mostly black, including David Dorn, the 78-year-old officer who was trying to defend his friend's store, and then got killed by other black people.
Yeah, and there was a 16-year-old black kid in Seattle when the Chaz was going on, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. He got shot to death in the middle of the night one night. You know, a 16-year-old kid. And like these people, no one cares about them. No one's going to send $10 million to a GoFundMe for them. No one's going to riot and protest for them, right? It was a complete display of just ignorance and like media, you know, controlling people's minds, because you saw everyone and their fucking mom out there supporting BLM, changing their profile picture to a black screen. Let me tell you something about that. Changing your profile picture to a black screen of George, you know, to help black people, that does as much for black people as going hashtag I stand with Ukraine. It doesn't do shit. You're just fucking virtue signaling. You're just showing off that, you know, you're part of the cool people that are on board with this agenda, but like, it doesn't help anybody. All of these people virtue signaling and going out and protesting for one day, or even the people in the States that were rioting, like they weren't doing it for George Floyd. What does George Floyd get out of you looting a fucking Target and burning a fucking affordable housing project to the ground in Minneapolis? You know, like these people just, they took it to an nth degree of stupidity.
Well, that's why we have Jesse Lee Peterson at AFPAC, and hopefully this just spreads out to whoever else into the conscious of the public. But I don't know how people catch on to this, because the mainstream media has such a grip on people's minds, right?
Yeah, for sure. And we've been blessed over the last like 10 years where before the internet was censored, where people were able to go into a place like YouTube and find these new ideas. And, you know, that's probably how a lot of us got in the situation we are in now, where we understand what's going on in the world, because we were able to go onto places like YouTube and forums online in different places and read about these new ideas and these different ideas, and maybe expand our perspective a little bit. But most people just watch the news, or they get their news from social media, and it's all controlled. It's all censored. It's all what they want you to hear, you know, and so it's really difficult for people, especially in 2022, to even find some of this information. Most people have no idea what's going on. They hear, oh, Ukraine got invaded by Russia. Wow, Russia's bad. And not that Russia's good. I don't believe in war, you know, irregardless, but like
no more brother wars.
More going on than just Russia bad, right?
100%. And yeah, I think we've gone about almost 2.5 hours now, so I want to kind of wrap it up at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
So we won't get into any of the Russia and Ukraine. I'll save that up for next stream. But I want to thank you for coming on and providing some expert insight. And yeah, I think overall AFPAC 3, very well done. If you get over 1,000 people to come and see what you're doing and spend hundreds of dollars to that, you've already got a great precedent. You're doing better than CPAC, to be honest. And at the same time, yes, you need to split that conference up into 2 days. I think everybody already knows that, because they went 4 hours of speakers in one night, and they should have had it as a conference over the course of 2 days. But there's so many different risks that come with something like AFPAC, because they're trying to dox the hotel and then put the Marriott hotel up to task for hosting these supposed white nationalist, white supremacist insurrectionists. So we have all these different factors factoring into it. And you got to have a space that's big enough to fit all these people twice in a fancy location.
Yeah, for
over the course of a whole weekend. So they have their challenges put out for them for AFPAC 4. And I think they did a good job this time. It is what it is. They had 4 hours of speakers. They need to split that off into 2 nights. And I think it would be extremely impressive if they could pull it off. And even if they try to fuck up the next night, like they had the Friday night, and then they figure out where they're and they fuck up the next night. And then they have a backup plan on top of that, and all these contingency plans. And this is what you have to deal with when you're in a dissident movement. Seriously. It's fucking insane. And the mainstream media will corroborate. They'll let this suppression of free speech happen. Meanwhile, they'll say that, like, because some black journalists said a whole bunch of shit that was anti-white, like white people don't deserve to talk, essentially. And they get like some DMs that say, shut the fuck up, bitch, or something. They'll pronounce that as like, oh, the free speech is not a thing because if you're a POC journalist, you'll get harassed. Absolutely not true. They're trying to, you know, fuck up what free speech actually is. Free speech is when you try to have a conference like this, and then the whole establishment is raining down upon you, making sure you can't speak anywhere. No matter how much of the infrastructure you have in place and people want to spend their money, they can't because they'll get doxxed. They'll fuck up the whole venue. They'll raise the security cost of venues so that they have to pay tens of thousands of dollars in order to deflect Antifa. That's why we're in this situation in the first place.
And look at the enthusiasm.
There is no free speech. There's no democracy. You're lying. These leftists are lying if they are trying to pretend like these things exist amongst their paradigm.
Yeah.
And
look at the enthusiasm of this event, too.
It's war.
You would never get that type of enthusiasm that they got at AFPAC at CPAC. Like, CPAC's a bunch of 65-year-olds fucking sitting around, slow clapping, sitting in their chairs. This event was people roaring with enthusiasm and excitement. Like, these people are young, excited, brave patriots, you know, and they're out there to, you know, have their voice be heard and to hear some incredible speakers. And they want to throw us all under the bus and pretend AFPAC's a bunch of racists and blah, 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 blah. Well, you know, people like Jesse Lee Peterson and a ton of other, you know, Black people and Hispanic people and tons of other races were there. And why are they there? Because they appreciate what, you know,
what we're doing,
what American culture is. And American culture is based on, you know, frankly, white people that are of European descent who created an amazing country, and they're proud of that country and they want to be part of that country. And they're not there because they're Uncle Toms. You know, you want to talk about racism. How about anyone who's Black who doesn't think this way is an Uncle Tom? That's racist.
Right. And then the token minorities for the leftist establishments.
Yeah.
Like, they tokenize them. Dude, these guys are just here because they want to be. They want to be front and center because they know it's not just the color of skin. What they believe in is central to their heart. And I think that really scares the establishment, which is why they're trying to erase them from all these situations.
Absolutely, man.
And on that note, I think you really crushed it with your last monologue there. But I see Al Stern donated $20 on the Entropy chat.
Hey!
Great show, boys. Based as always. Thank you very much. Seems like he's gone for the night. Good night to you too, man. And good night to everybody else. Thank you so much for listening tonight. And yeah, maybe next week we'll get into the Russia-Ukraine shit. It seems like more brother wars as usual. And it's NATO trying to get us into some war that it's about pipelines. It's about, you know, geographical...
strategic points, you know.
Geopolitical strategic alliances. It's nothing really to do with us. It seems like they're trying to cuck Russia from having the Nord Stream 2 pipeline of gas from Russia to Germany, to be honest to me. And as well as other economical advantages that Russia could have if they were their own state that was not being constantly chipped away at, just like Israel chips away at Syria and all the other Middle Eastern countries around them. That's kind of my take on it. Though I do understand that maybe Ukrainians have their own sense of nationalism, and you have to respect that in some sense. But at the same time, I think there's a lot to decipher in this conflict, and we'll get to that later. But anyways, thank you all for coming out, and have a good night, guys.
God bless, guys.
I'm going to play you out with the Canada First edit that I made myself with all my own footage throughout the last few weeks. So just enjoy it, the opener song, to be honest. And I'll leave you guys out on that. It's a bit fast. There we go.
Me for victory. Canada first, baby. Let's go. Canada first. 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 Freedom. Freedom. Canada first, baby. Let's go. Fuck Trudeau. These globalists need to fall. Hey, anti-hate, what do you think about this? Give me an HH. Hong Kong! It's a great day to come out here and support our truckers. Oh, look at this!
It's the fake news CBC, boys. They're going into hiding.
Fake news, go! Don't worry, we're fighting for you guys too. Yo, this guy's got the gas.